And Domain has released its rent report for the December quarter, showing it's been a record-breaking year for the rental market. To break down the outcomes of the report, I'm joined by Domain's Chief of Research and Economics, Dr. Nicola Powell. Nicola, thanks so much for your time this afternoon. Now, the country's seen the steepest annual rental increase on record. Just how much has it increased?
So across our combined capital cities, we have seen house rents increase by $70 a week over the past year. So that's almost a 15% increase to a record high $550 a week. And it's a similar outcome for unit rents as well. They're up $75 over the past year. That's an increase of almost 18% over the last 12 months. And again, a record high unit rent of $500 a week. This is actually the longest continuous stretch of rental price growth in Australia's history. So that means house rents have now risen for 7 quarters in a row, and unit rents are up now 6 quarters in a row.
And is this just a case of supply versus demand that's really driving up these prices at the moment?
We have seen some really unprecedented growth, and it is being driven by low supply at a time where demand is particularly high. It's created this very competitive environment for tenants out there. Those demand pressures have been fueled by the return of international and domestic travel, but of course overseas migration and international students as well returning to our shores. But there are other reasons as well. I think the high purchasing price of actually gaining access to the market is locking people into the rental market for much longer. And also a lack of investment activity and really a lack of social housing across Australia, which means some of our more vulnerable Australians are in the private rental market when they should be in government housing.
So we saw a record high in 2022. What are your predictions for the rental market this year?
We did start to see a slower pace of quarterly growth towards the end of 2022. So I think that really could be a sign that tenants are really reaching an affordability ceiling. We also did see a lift in the vacant rentals across Australia. That is a bit seasonal. I think we've still got a vacancy rate of 1.1%. It's a landlord's market across every single capital city and even into regional Australia. So I think the fact that it is still a landlord's market, we're likely to continue to see rents rise.
So what sort of solutions do you think we need to see these rental prices being driven down?
We really need to boost supply. We really need to encourage investment activity because it's a rental crisis in many parts of Australia. We need to increase the number of social housing that we're producing, but also things like the build-to-rent sector needs to be advanced because when you compare the build-to-rent sector in Australia to the UK, it's in its infancy. And, build-to-rent really does provide security not only for tenants, but also security for cash flow for investors as well.
And just touching on New South Wales, to encourage people to buy their first home and get out of that rental market and into home ownership, the government has introduced the option of a land tax rather than stamp duty. What are your thoughts on this, and do you expect to see many people opting in on the land tax?
It's going to be really interesting to see the outcome of whether first home buyers do opt for that annual land tax. I think stamp duty overall is seen as a very inefficient property tax. It adds tens of thousands of dollars to the upfront costs of purchasing a home, and particularly for first home buyers. It's a real financial barrier for them to gain access to the market. So I think what it is likely to do is bring more first home buyers to the market sooner if they swap, obviously, to that property tax.
Is it a good idea over the long term, do you think?
Look, I think we really need to address the affordability of housing overall, and we really need to help tenants transition to being first home buyers. I mean, it is the Australian dream to own your own home, but it is very expensive to purchase, particularly in the East Coast, where you've got median prices above $1 million for a house. So I think, we really need to look at this more in a broad perspective about what is the affordability in terms of supply, and actually looking at stamp duty overall for the entire market, because it is an inefficient tax. It's a disincentive to move. We need to encourage downsizing, freeing up larger family homes, and really kind of reducing the financial barriers to changing homes. And stamp duty really is a significant financial hurdle for many, not just first home buyers.
Yeah, absolutely. Dr. Nicola Powell, thank you so much for your time this afternoon and for breaking down all of that information.